Bapanaz everyone. Today we're going to be ranking the Hollow Knight areas because Hollow Knight, is almost 8 years old at this point, is going to be 8 years old by the end of this month, and I thought now is the best time ever to rank these areas, with Silksong hopefully in the horizon, and I've already ranked the bosses together with Taco TV. Great video, was a lot of fun, go check it out. And now we're going to go into these areas. Just as a heads up, a negative area is in the D tier, or area I have negative emotions about. Neutral C tier, and then variations of positive emotions from S to B tier. Starting off with the Abyss, we put this one into the B tier, and it's quite simple. Because we've got this well motif here, which I think is very interesting, and a very nice continuation of what we have at the start of the game, where we also got down a tiny well. So I think that's a very nice continuation, it's one of the first things you do, and then it's one of the last things you do. Then I also really like the tower, the lighthouse. I really like the idea of keeping an ancient bay, an ancient evil at bay via a lighthouse. I think that's very interesting. They probably should have hired a better lighthouse keeper, but that's besides the point, we don't have enemy variety or anything here, but that's fair enough. I feel like for what this area wants to be and needs to be, I think it's fitting. It's fitting and it's a good area. Moving on to the City of Tears. And this is my first hot take, is what I would say if I was a stupid person. City of Tears goes into the S tier. I mean, we've just got so much variation here. We've got the city storerooms with these annoying platforms and these fuckers who somehow hit me every single time. And then we have the path to the Nail Master, which I very much enjoy. And we have these very impossible buildings that I think are not even that fun to traverse, but they're so different to anything else in the game because it's so urban. The one thing that I think actually elevates this area further is the eastern City of Tears, or more or less like the upper district, I guess. We have a very nice distinction, right? You only have the best guards for the highest class of the city. I think it's great commentary. Also, just the backgrounds here are so pretty. Like, some of these things you'd never see, right? Like these things. I think it's so interesting and cool to see. Maybe I'll do a video on the backgrounds in Hollow Knight. It's been something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while now. We also have, of course, the bathing house, which I think is such a nice change of pace. And the whole City of Tears is a bit of a change of pace, right? Because it feels very solemn and calm, and yet probably one of the most dystopian areas in the game, because everyone is just going rabid and running rampant. And yeah, we also, since sub areas do not count as their own in this tier list, we also have the Soul Sanctum. The only downside to the Soul Sanctum is as soon as you enter it, the fucking music blasts your ears out. But apart from that, I think it's a very good sub-area. A lot of aura, as the kids would say these days. And a lot of enemy variety for such a small sub-area, right? You've got the mistakes, which I feel like every Silksong believer can identify themselves with quite easily. And actually one of my favorite bosses here as well, which I think is very underrated. The Soul Master. It's also just a great piece of lore that the blue lake that aligns perfectly rains down onto the City of Tears, and the City of Tears then has these kind of waterfalls. They're not really waterfalls, but the water's still flowing down and goes down to the to the Waterways. It's just such a great way of designing an area. City of Tears, obvious S tier in my book. Now what I would like to see is, by the way, if for example the Embraced one made this map, and I don't know if this is actually how the City of Tears top looks in-game, or if it was just something they added for flair so the whole area would make sense, because we normally would only get to see like this part, right? We only get to see this and not a lot else. So it would be interesting to see if that is indeed what it looks like in-game, if we, for example, take the character and just move up and up and up and up. But yeah, let's move on to the next area. We've got that ancient basin. The ancient basin. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You're also part of the ancient basin, yeah. That's tough. We're going to put you into the C tier though, because, you know, I do like the start, the path towards the ancient basin. I feel like this failed elevator is a very nice set piece to go down. And then also this road, you know, it seems very official because it is the road to the White Palace. It's got these grand structures, but they're of course dilapidated. So it makes you feel like you're entering something important, and in a way you are, right? And there is the tram station here, which I think are great connecting points to Deepnest and Kingdom's Edge. But then the area itself is barren. And it wants to be barren, right? Some of the enemies in this area are not the usual, oh, we're in the endgame now and every enemy wants to rip you apart, but just are these ancient creatures that live on their own and don't need anything, right? They don't need to be hunters, so they do not hunt. Because there's almost nothing here, so they've learned to live based on nothing, which I think is fascinating. You know, the White Palace area is, I think, very interesting, but only makes a lot of sense once we actually can enter the White Palace, and the White Palace is its own area here. And we've got the section with the Monarch Wings, right, which I think is a fine enough section, but it's just a loop and these enemies are a bit annoying. So I think at the end of the day we land at a C tier. I think we're gonna go top of C tier, because the Broken Vessel and Lost Kin fights are very fun. So I think that bumps it up a bit, but for now we're going to go top of C tier. Now Crystal Peaks, I actually have a hot take. That's going to be the first D tier. I think the Crystal Peaks is just very annoying to navigate. Of course, now I've learned to navigate the Crystal Peaks. Back in the day, I didn't know that I needed to go like here or something and then this way. I think it was. I don't know, I never really felt that compelled by the Crystal Peaks. But I do think, you know, it's for a mining area, it does have a lot of unique flair to it. But I just also think the enemies we fight down here are a bit annoying. You know, we've got the fucking worst ones right here. I feel like these might be the worst enemies in the game, worse than the Primal Ass Pits. And yeah, these are also kinda annoying, I guess. And the boss fight also not that interesting, you know, hi little guy. It's funny that you can actually damage this one with the Dung Defender's Crest, or like the Defender's Crest if you stand next to him, because you just continuously stink up the room so much that he fucking dies, which I think is hilarious. And yeah, visually the area is great. I do really love this room. I feel like we should have a bench here and one of those gramophones. Is that what it's called in English? It's called that in German. I don't know if it's called gramophone in English as well. I think it would have made for a great place of respite. And it kind of still is, but there's no reason to stay here. And I feel like it's such a pretty, like zoom out, like it's beautiful, right? And the way to the top is kind of really annoying as well. But the top itself is extremely interesting, I feel like. But still, it's just because of the area, the enemies. And then every now and then, you know, you're low on health and you still have to do one of these platforming sections. And I'm good at platforming in Hollow Knight, but those are the times when I get hit, right? You're down to 2 HP, you get hit by these spikes, you fall down and get hit on the second time and then you're dead. So yeah, it's D tier for the Crystal Peaks. Deepnest. Now that's my next hot take. I'ma put Deepnest in S tier. You know, you can enter the Deepnest through Mantis Village. You can enter the Deepnest through here by breaking through the floor. You can technically also enter the Deepnest via the Abyss tram station. No, we need the tram pass from Deepnest. Sorry, I was talking out of my ass. What makes Deepnest special? Everyone hates it. That makes it special. Everyone regrets coming here immediately. Even Cornifer regrets coming here immediately. Not a lot of Metroidvanias have done scary areas very well. And look at the enemy designs in this area. We've got the corpse creepers, which I think are amazing. We've got the little spiderling creatures. The further west we go, the more spidery and arachnid it gets, which is wonderful for someone with arachnophobia like myself. But for some reason, I don't know, the Hollow Knight ones don't scare me. I don't have, I'm not opposed to them. And then my personal highlight, except for this one, I also really like the broken down tramway. I think it's a very fun and interesting way to get the tram pass. My personal highlight is, of course, we all know it, we get to this moment of respite. Again, one of the great things about Hollow Knight are these calm areas. And then we move west and find this breakable wall. I have no idea how I found it in my first playthrough, by the way. I think I was just trying to find my way west and accidentally found this area. I don't know if you've ever, like, dream nailed some of the corpses here, but they very much set the scene very well. And then the fight itself is nothing special, but it's one of the most unique experiences in the game and one of the most underrated bosses in the game. I've made a short about the underrated bosses, by the way. Nosk is in the thumbnail for a good reason. Yeah, and then the distant village itself. Look at the background. Look at the atmosphere here. I think it's fantastic. Also the scene, the event that happens in here is very, very fun. Very off-putting. It's just so weird. But yeah, for me, Deepnest is an S tier, not because I want to go through it, but because every time I have to go through it, I just have to appreciate what they wanted to do with it and what they did with it. Moving on, Dirtmouth. Oh wait, I have to think about that one. As a hub area, you know, it does its job very well. You've got a lot of great characters. There's hints at, you know, a possible bigger city in the distance, which I always very much enjoy. It's so desolate. It's so sad and slow in a way. But I love it for that. I'm thinking of putting it S tier, but it's gonna go A tier for now. I don't think there's a lot more to say here. I think it's just, as far as hubs go, it's one of the most simple ones. You're one of the simplest ones you're ever going to find. But it kind of checks out with the whole vibe they're going for with this one. The Fog Canyon, oh my god. Fog Canyon, no one likes you, but do I like you? Am I secretly, Am I secretly a Fog Canyon lover? No, I'm not. You're going to go bottom of C tier for me. The only thing that saves the Fog Canyon is, on one hand, Queen Station. Is Queen Station part of Fog Canyon or part of Fungal Wastes? I've always counted it as part of Fog Canyon because you only get the Fungal Wastes thing as soon as you enter here. You only get the title card here. And I do really like the Queen Station. I also like Willow as an NPC. Yeah, Millibell, you can go fuck yourself. What I do really like are the Teacher's Archives. I feel like it's a great room. I'm judging the rooms themselves, which should tell you much about how much of a huge Hollow Knight nerd I am. But I really do like again, the vibe, the tranquility of this area. And also inside, it's not what I would have expected. And I think Hollow Knight does this so well that they hit you with something that you don't expect, but then after getting to know it and getting to know the lore, it makes like perfect sense. And Fog Canyon as a whole is got a very nice aesthetic to it, but that's par for the course for almost every Hollow Knight area, right? What could you compare this area with in any other Hollow Knight, in any other Metroidvania area? Well, I guess it kind of looks the most alien, right? It kind of looks the most like a area you would find in a very much Metroid-inspired Metroidvania. I think that might be what it reminds me the most of. But yeah, very unique area. Luckily, once you know how to deal with these ones, not as annoying as it could be, but still there's not a lot to it. Which is why it's going to go C tier. We also got the Collosseum of Fools here. That is very odd. Okay, let's move to the Colosseum, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I just have to put you... I can't put you above, like, a C tier, just because, you know, the rooms that are here are very much perfect, I feel like. They're very good, but there's not a lot to it, and the way they're utilized, for example, over half of the Collosseum of Fools is this area, which is just one disappointing boss fight in a very cool designed room, I might add. But it's a very odd, like, boss fight or, like, stronger enemy fight, and I don't see the reason why this really should be in this tier list in the first place. But yeah, the rooms that are here are very well designed. I do like the hidden spa, I think that's very fun. But yeah, I can't. You know what, I can't put it into C tier. I'm gonna go top of D tier here. Forgotten Crossroads. Now this one, even though, you know, people might disagree, I feel like this one is actually the hardest to rank. Because on one hand, it is very bland. For example, I played this game for the first time blind. I played it for a few hours, and then after, you know, trying to find my way in the Forgotten Crossroads, this was also one of the first Metroidvanias I've ever played, by the way. I kind of dropped it for a week and then got back into it, and you know, I kind of started liking it, as you might have guessed. It's kind of bland, it's also kind of confusing. People always say that it's a circle, because in a way, yeah, it is, but it's also a bit more complicated than that. You've got these through lines, which are sometimes only accessible via one path and not the other. And yeah, one thing that this area does do well is give you a lot of options and show you a lot of things you'll get to see later. For example, we've got the elevator here, which we of course can't access yet. We have this area here where we know we'll need the double jump. We've got this area here where we'll know we'll need something, which is actually the way forward, which is surprising, I think, to many of us at least. And, you know, we've got this little cathedral here, which I think is very interesting. We've got Salubra here. All in all, it's a decent first area. I do love the False Knights parts of the map, but I do feel like it would need a bit of a visual overhaul for it to stand out a bit more. Yeah, it's supposed to be like that, right? It's supposed to be the developers kind of hiding their tricks and not showing it straight up, which is fine, but at the end of the day it might deter a few players that need more neuron activation earlier on, which is fine because, you know, not everyone has the time to invest a lot of hours into video games, so a strong start is kind of important. But I do respect that Hollow Knight or Team Cherry actually went the route and designed an area that's a bit more subdued, that's very much fits the name Forgotten Crossroads, because every area around it is in some way, shape or form more memorable, right? But it does lead to an area that is in itself very diverse, but it's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey in a very literal sense. Because visually there's not a lot to it, and it's the first area, so the enemies are also not that fun. But even though I've been shitting on it, I feel like a B tier is fitting. It's just a very hard area to rank. Let me know your thoughts. I've been rambling on for way too much. I gotta quicken this up a bit. The Fungal Wastes. The Fungal Wastes are going to go into an A tier. Personally, for some reason, I'm never that thrilled to go back to the Fungal Wastes. But then, you know, I fight the little enemies. I see the backgrounds, which I think are wonderful. The thing that kind of makes this stand out is, in one way, the path towards the City of Tears. I feel like it's a very unique segue into a new area, and of course the Mantis Village. I'm not going to pretend like this is not at least bumping it up a tier 2. We also got like the Fungal Core, which is fun. Is this a Fungal Core? Yeah, right? Am I stupid? Yeah, here. Hello. Oh, and I also love that we see the pipes coming out from the Royal Waterways. I think that's another great way of designing this whole area. Also, this area is just so interesting, right? Because it's of course an offshoot of the Waterways, but it's a structure from the king, you know, from the kingdom. So it's very much out of place here, but that's what makes it oddly satisfying and calming. All of these benches, you know, are calming in a different way, which I think is very interesting. Yeah, we're gonna go A tier with this one. There's a lifeblood cocoon here. I don't think I've ever seen this. Huh? How would you and why would you go there? Is it like is there a breakable wall here or something? I don't think I've ever seen this. You cannot possibly get to it before defeating the Mantis Lords. So why is the one in the first place? Because, like, only after you've defeated the Mantis Lords you could go here. Odd. Very odd. Godhome is another hub, and I'm going to give it bottom of C tier. It's not in this map right here, I don't think, but there's also not that much to say. It's a decent hub for a decent new mode, for a great new mode, but it's not that easy to traverse, and there's a few secrets actually. There's one or two like hidden things and hidden modes, but like I don't think it's that special, so it's gonna go bottom of C tier for me. That's as easy as it gets. Greenpath. Greenpath. That's the second toughest one, actually. That's the second toughest one, believe it or not. We are going to go top of A tier. I'm never sure where I want to put Greenpath, and the one thing that holds it back for me is it being a path, you know? You have to walk all this way in pretty much a straight line to be able to traverse to the next area. And the thing is, Hollow Knight is such an open game that having this straight of a line as the second path on repeat playthroughs always feels a bit odd to me. Doesn't mean it's a bad decision per se, but you know, as soon as you have to do something in a playthrough, you really think about whether you want to or whether you like doing it. But on the flip side, we do have like a great fight with the Hornet fight. We do have a wonderful hidden area with the Lake of Un. I really enjoy that one. And we do have... Yeah, we do have the massive moss bag, which is wonderful, and Stone Sanctum. You know what? It's going to go behind Dirtmouth. It's really held up by the enemy design, which is wonderful, and the environment design and the music, which is... Oh, and we also got the Hunter, of course. Which is a lot, which is worth a lot, of course, but... Yeah, I don't think it's the best area in the game. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. The Howling Cliffs has to go into the D tier. The Howling Cliffs, in a way, is exactly what it wants to be. It wants to be a barren wasteland. It wants to show the player, okay, there's nothing west, or almost nothing west. If you've read the Krill comic, you know more about it. But yeah, there's almost nothing here, and what is here feels a bit random, like, you know, the Choni Sanctuary or whatever, and this random boss fight, and then we've got Mato here. It's a bit all over the place, and also most famously we've got the Grim Troop here as well. I don't think necessarily that it's supposed to be that special, but it not being special leads to it not ranking high on this list. Infected Crossroads is going to go bottom of D. It's just a crossroads, but with more annoying enemies, which I think is fine. I love the idea of an area changing after a while, but the one thing that's holding it back is the way that it makes some of the areas inaccessible, or like you have to like walk around it, right? Here I think is one, and then there's another one at another place, and I think it's just an annoying addition that doesn't add anything. One of the few parts in the game where I would really say that this was a design mistake by Team Cherry, because I cannot in good conscience see what they were going for with this one. Of course, it's a small nitpick and all, but I think it's one of the only things that holds Hollow Knight back on like an as objective level as you can get. I'm talking a bit out of my ass, of course, but I do think the Infected Crossroads is in theory wonderful, and I love the idea, and I hope it's coming back for Silksong in a way, even in a bigger way hopefully, but not in a way that takes away previously accessible paths. I think that's counterintuitive and doesn't feel nice in my brain. Kingdom's Edge. Oh, we're gonna have a hot take here. I'm gonna put Kingdom's Edge. No, let's not put it S tier. Let's put it top of A tier, because I do love Kingdom's Edge. I think entering it, just such a unique feeling. It's so calm, and it again shows you that not every late game area has to have only enemies that instantly want to kill you. I feel like this enemy is actually wonderful and portrays the calmness of the area very well. Meanwhile, we can go further east and actually find more challenging pieces of this area as well, which is more akin to what you would normally find in metroidvanias. But it's got some great set pieces, you know, this whole section with the Colosseum fighters falling down from this pit, which I think is insanely interesting and fun. I mean fun, you know, is maybe not the best word here, but it's definitely a very unique take on a Colosseum. And, you know, we do have the Hive here, which I think is also fun. The Hive is going to be its own thing, but it's teased very nicely here. I was still too stupid to find it in my first playthrough, but I was also 18, so like, you know, we all get smarter as we go on, hopefully, in life. We also got the carcass of the king pre-transformation, which is an interesting tidbit because, you know, we think this is a snow area. Nope, it's skin flakes. That was a diversion I did not expect. But also this one. This is one of the best rooms in the game because it hints at the great beyond a bit. But we aren't allowed to go here. Yeah, it's just a wonderfully executed tranquil area, you know? Of course, the Howling Cliffs had the duty of being like the barren wasteland that really nothing is beyond of. So it's kind of like the hands were tied. But the Kingdom's Edge does a very similar thing, right? It's also a bit of a wasteland. It's also untouched by civilization for the most part. But it does so much more with it and is very unique in that way. Queen's Gardens is S tier. So, come at me and hate me. The Queen's Gardens, I think, is wonderful because it's a bit more platforming focused. And I love the platforming in Queen's Gardens. And it's just visually, I think, it's the prettiest area in the game. I like how lush it is. I think there's so much here. So late into the game, I did not expect a full new area. Look at all these plants. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. The music is, for me, the music as well as the visuals are just better versions of Greenpath, to be honest. Or more fun and exciting versions. And there's also, the design also tickles my brain in a better way. We also have one of the best rooms in the game, one of the best benches. You know how you love to see it, namely this one. I think it's the best bench in the game. You have to pay the toll station, then you get the bench, and you see the alubas, or what they're called, flying around peacefully. You get the gramophone, playing music. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, I tell you. Well, we've got the Traitor Lord here, which is a boss. I don't like it that much, to be honest. We've got the Flower Side quest here as well, which I am going to ignore because it technically spans some of the areas, so it's not exclusive to this area because I'm not too much of a fan of the Flower quest. Shocker, I know. Yeah, we've got Mamu here. Isn't Mamu wonderful? William Pellin's wife, I think, voiced that one, right? You did a great job. For some reason, this area is just doing it for me. It's basically just a smaller Greenpath, right? It's like half a Greenpath at the end of the game. But that's exactly what I needed. Resting grounds. Now, I am a sucker for the resting grounds music. And I do love this area, all of this. Ooh. I don't know if the Blue Lake counts towards the resting grounds. I would count it towards the resting grounds, to be honest. Which is saying a lot. We don't have a lot in the B tier yet. I think it's gonna go bottom of B tier. Oh, actually, let's put you here. Look, we don't have a lot going on here, but what we have is great. We've got these graves, which I think are very interesting. We have this entrance to the City of Tears, which is so desolate, right? You've got this one singular big enemy guarding it, and you've normally maybe haven't seen one before. Yeah, then we can move here and have this whole little subsection, which I think is just very unique and interesting. I've said interesting a lot. Yeah, this is also a wonderful room right here, right? We have the Grey Mourner here. We don't have to talk about her. But like, when it comes to the design, it's just basically a graveyard, but it's so unique in the way it actually plays out. And we've got the Glade of Hope, which I think is also quite a wonderful and unique way to have your backers in the game. I think it's great. Royal Waterways. You're going to go top of C tier. Actually, you're gonna go bottom of B tier. Look, nobody really likes the Royal Waterways, and I would like to disagree. Because we've got two hilarious boss fights in their own right. We've got the Fluke Mom, and we've got the Down Defender over here. And what really makes this one stand out is just how disgusting it is. I think, even though it's so disgusting, I think it's still kind of fun to traverse through. Some of the enemy design, like this one, is perfect. It's just so perfectly designed. It's so off-putting. And these enemies are also so unique. Love to see it. I think this subsection, if you just want to go back around here or on here, it gets a bit annoying maybe with all of these enemies. But yeah, it also allows us to go to here, which I don't know if it's part, I think it's part of the Royal Waterways, but I love Isma's Grove as a sub area. I think it's very underrated. And yeah, we also would have our path here towards Godhome, you know. That's not part of the map, but it fits very nicely here actually. So yeah, I do really like Royal Waterways. I think it's overhated. I think visually it's actually doing quite a lot. If you don't believe me, like, look at those backgrounds. Aren't they like pretty? I don't know. Maybe this is a hot take. Maybe this is a hot take, but I really enjoy the Royal Waterways. High took. The Hive, however, you're going to go here. Okay, I've made a whole video in which I pretentiously said that the Hive had no purpose. Or like lacked a bit of purpose, which I still would subscribe to, but I just can't play around the fact that the Hive is still an area that is wonderful in concept and just a bit lacking in execution. Because the way they portrayed the Hive, like as a quite advanced society actually, is super interesting to me. The design, the ambient music is wonderful here. The color scheme is inviting. It's such a different feel from anything else in the game. And to find something so vibrant, like look, the Hive stands out. The Hive, like, it's glowing from the distance here. That's how much it stands out. And that's just not a lot to do here, which is its downfall in a way. But it does have one of the, in my opinion, best boss fights with the Hive Knight. I really like this one. But yeah, it's a very small area. I think for what it is, it's good. I just wanted more of it. Like maybe just add a little section here, add another boss, you know. I just wanted more. I just could not be satiated. And then White Palace. Oh my god, this fits so perfectly. White Palace is the last one in S tier. So we actually don't have the White Palace here in the interactive map, so I had to search for it real quick. And it's just a wonderful final platforming challenge for this optional ending. I think it's one of the... This whole quest is so well done. Also for Queen's Gardens, I forgot to mention, of course, the section with the Queen. Quite pretty as well, with Drea in front. Also with what it tries to do and what it actually does. It's very pretty in game. It's got one of the best OSTs, original soundtracks in the game. Is it underrated? Should it even count? I think it should count. I think it's big enough to count. It's such a good and out of nowhere late game challenge because you see this all your playthrough long. this fucker here. And you're like, this has to be something. But normally, you know, you would expect maybe a vision of the king of Hellonest when he was strong, and you fight him and it's an optional boss, which would have been cool. But I think the White Palace kind of knocks it out of the park. So now let me rearrange the tier list a bit until it makes sense to me more. So, this is the final tier list. We've got 4 in each column, which I think fits perfectly. Let me know what you think of this ranking. Let me know if you disagree, if you agree. Also, thanks for the support on the Silksong video. It does mean a lot. I know news videos always do well, but this one did so well that I was very positively surprised. Also, the feedback was wonderful. Yeah. Let me know if you want more Hollow Knight videos. I talked so much about Silksong, which isn't out yet, that I never really talked that much about Hollow Knight. So, let me know if there's any topics you'd like for me to cover. And I'm gonna try and upload this on Tuesday because I'd like weekly uploads to be a thing on this channel. Yeah. Please, if you want to support me, Patreon or YouTube channel membership is $1. Otherwise, you can just share and like and do that stuff, you know, you don't have to spend money. Yeah, but I've had fun doing this. I hope it was kind of fun watching. So yeah, I'll see you, hopefully, soon.